This trim was applied the same as the one for the angel sleeve. Now, one question people will have, do I back tack? And no, I do not do any back tacking at either end because they will be enclosed in other seams. Another thing that I always do when I go to iron, I always iron my ironing board first so that it takes the initial heat. And so if you're working with something that has some poly in it, you're not going to tend to draw it up because of the heat that has gotten on your iron. This one here now, we are going to put in elastic and we are going to apply it, and we will be zigzagging over it. We'll lock the end, and if possible, I like to have a flat length so that I don't have to draw it up until afterwards. And I will use a guide on my machine to determine how big a ruffle. That will determine the length of the ruffle. This particular garment is a newborn size, so it doesn't have to be real big. I am going to put my trim at my last guide on my plate, and then I am going to put my foot down, and the first thing I'm going to do is to do just a few stitches forward and backward. I don't want to go into too much beyond the seam. So I'm going to go backwards a couple stitches. And this is a time where often your awl will help to hold that down so that it will stay in place for you and not buckle. I do want that very anchored, so I'm going to do it 2 or 3 times. And now I am going to go to a wide zigzag. You see how that came out just a little. I want to push that underneath. And I'm going to go to a zigzag, and it's going to be a width of 5 and a length of 1.5 to 1 3/4. And I always hold on to the tail as I start. We want the zigzag to clear the elastic. You do not want to hit the elastic or you won't be able to pull it at the end. And this started out, Gail, so that I am on the next to the last line, and that's the one we're going to use. Toward the end of our sleeve, we are going to actually back tack, even though I said I don't back tack on most things. But this is a time because we're going to be pulling the elastic where we need to back tack so we don't undo the stitches. So go close to the end and then just a couple stitches back and a couple stitches forward. Now we can cut the thread, but do not cut the elastic. And now as we pull on our elastic, we get our little gather for our sleeve. This is one of the easiest and really most adjustable sleeves to do. And if you know the baby size or the child size, you can just work it accordingly. But you see what a pretty little finish that is for a gathered sleeve and how easy. After you do one, you can measure it and do the second one. And what I usually do on the second one, I would take and measure my length and mark it with my blue pen, so I would know when I finished what I needed to pull it up to do it. But I would start with it as flat as possible. The only time I stretch my elastic as I'm sewing over it is when I'm down to the end of my elastic and I need it.